What's going on? The theAPEcoach from Six-Pack Gaming, where we bring you the best play-to-earn NFT games and new Metaverse projects. Today, I am pumped to be doing another video here on Derby Stars. We've got the white paper done, so we are going to dive into all of that, tell you all the features and mechanics that are going to be coming to this game. There is a lot, so I'm super pumped about it, and we have the third and final pre-sale for the Derby Stars horse NFTs coming up in just about 2 weeks here, 11 days. You can see it right here. We've got the pre-sale coming up, and we are going to be giving away 5 whitelist spots for that pre-sale, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button, make sure you're subscribed and got notifications turned on, and let's dive right into this. Derby Stars is a horse racing metaverse game where players can breed, grow, build, and trade. Players can train their horse over a long period of time through the in-game training system and race against other players using the stats, talents, and skills of each horse. During this process, players can feed the horse with special food to awaken its hidden abilities, and feeding can also level up players' horses. If a horse wins the first place in the race, the player can earn lots of rewards, and horses with numerous championship histories will serve as excellent stallions in breeding. So here is kind of a breakdown of everything. So you've got your racing and training as the two sort of core game mechanics. You can also breed with these horses, and you have your rewards in your tokens that you can sell on the exchange. You have horses that you can breed, and you can trade those or sell them as well. So that's kind of the how things work in the play to earn ecosystem here. Monetization of horse racing, participation in various tournament races, obtain a new Foal NFT through breeding, monetization via the role of stallion in breeding. So just like in Pegaxi, you can do the rent to breed sort of system where if you have a stallion horse, you can put it up to breed, and then someone can pay an application fee to breed with your horse, and that's basically how that works. So you kind of rent your horse out for the purpose of breeding, and then people pay you an extra fee to be able to breed with your horse. And then it says obtain common rare horses through breeding and selling them on the marketplace, and then lend your horses to other players and share the profits from the horses' activities. So this is the scholarship feature. So that is awesome. Here's a bit of the fundamentals. They had their first pre-sale way back in December, and that was 10,027 horses. There's 3 total pre-sales, so they've already had 2. The final one is coming up in 11 days there. Horses sold during the pre-sale are uniquely marked origin because they do not have parents, unlike horses born by crossbreeding. So all the future horses are going to come from like breeding, so they won't be origin horses. They will be, offspring of these initial about 30,000, because each of these 3 pre-sales has this 10,027 horses. And then here it is. Derby Stars utilizes a dual token economic model and issues Run, which is the governance token, and CRT or CRT token, which is the utility token, much like VIS in Pegaxi. And this is on the Terra blockchain, which is huge. I think this is going to be probably the first and biggest NFT game on the Terra blockchain, so I'm super excited about it. Derby Stars is a full 3D game that's available on PC, will later support Android, mobile, and Derby team acknowledges the importance of scholarship programs and guilds within the ecosystem and would like to grow together with their partners. Is the Derby Stars team. The Derby Stars project was started in June 2021 by Sean, the leader of the project. Sean has experience in developing and successfully launching mobile horse racing games globally in the past, which if you watched my previous video, we kind of talked about that and I showed you what that old game looked like. Sean formed the Derby team with veteran members who had been working together for a short period of a few years or as long as 7 to 11 years. So a lot of these have been working together for quite a while. Sort of core team was formed with 9 people, including a tech director, an art director, and the lead server programmer. Currently, the Derby team is headquartered in Seoul, Korea, and is under development. The number of members employed in various countries such as Korea and the US, as well as India, has reached 30 already. So they've already got 30 people working on this. The game isn't even, out yet, but they have a ton of stuff coming for this, so I'm super excited about it. And it says, you know, combined they've got at least 20 years experience in the gaming industry and the leaders for each part of the team as well. So that's very, very cool to see. And here's just kind of like an overview of all the different team members you can check out. Here is the roadmap. So you can see this started all back in like Q2 2021, back in June there. They kind of just put together the team and the website and that sort of stuff. At the beginning of this year, they had their first NFT sale. They started designing, you know, the tokenomics, put together the smart contracts, all that sort of stuff. And then they have, they've been working on the training mode development, on the racing engine. They had their second horse NFT pre-sale, and they have one more sale coming up. So we've got Q2 here. We've got a lot coming up. So they've got a new promo video coming. They've been working on the PvE race tournaments. They've been developing the breeding system, a dashboard, native marketplace, so pretty much everything. They're supposed to have the token generation and IEO, as well as the third horse NFT presale, and this is what we are going to be giving whitelist spots away for. And then the alpha launch is actually scheduled for later Q2. I believe it's going to be later in June coming up, so that is actually pretty soon here. And then Q3, it says, is going to be the renting system, so releasing of the scholarship program and all of that sort of stuff. And then heading into Q4, we've got PvP race tournaments for low-level races and intermediate races. We've got a horse release system. This is very cool as well. They have jockeys, which are going to be like your avatars in the game. There's going to be customization for those coming. There's going to be a crafting system, food synthesis system, advanced PvP race tournaments, friend invitation system. So they're actually developing more of a social platform within the game itself, which is huge. That is one thing that literally zero NFT play to earn games have right now. So it's great to see, you know, the team coming from a traditional gaming background. They understand how to actually make a game, right? And so they're very much focused on developing an engaging game that people actually want to play, in addition to the play to earn economy. I think the biggest kind of downfall we've seen in the NFT gaming space so far is so many teams are just launching an economy for a game and leaving the game out of the equation entirely, right? Like they're just launching an economy, saying that there's going to be a game eventually, but there's no game. So the economy can't function properly or as intended if there's no game for the economy to function in, right? That's when you can see things start to balance out a little bit better. But, you know, you can't just keep adding in burning mechanisms and stuff when there's literally no playability of the game. Okay, so I'm really excited for the actual gamification aspects of this game, you know, what it's supposed to be. They're focusing on developing an actual game, not just throwing tokens and NFTs on a website and saying this will be a game. And as we went over in the last video as well, there's some very big backers and partners in this. They have added a few additional ones, I believe, since the last video, mainly these bigger guilds. We got like the Ready Player DAO, we've got Avocado Guild, Guildfi, and a bunch of these other guys. So very, very strong partners with this game, which is another awesome thing that you want to see. And now let's get to the actual gameplay. As you can see, there is a lot here. So they've got the horses, which is the core. This is the first NFTs that you're going to own. There's going to be PvP races. There's going to be training. Okay, then you're going to earn CRT tokens from this, as well as run tokens, which is the governance token. There's going to be a breeding system that requires both run and CRT tokens. There's going to be item crafting, which is going to require both run and CRT tokens. And there's going to be a food synthesis program, which you can get from which you can get from training. And you're going to be using the CRT and the food for developing this, you know, this food synthesis thing. So you're going to be able to craft items. You're going to be able to I guess, cook or, you know, make unique types of food. And then there is going to be effects from your training, which is going to give your horse experience and allow you to level up your horse and improve the horse's stats so that you can do better in the PvP races. So that is kind of how this all cycles through. There's a lot of different things that are all going to be involved in this, and it's amazing to see all these different elements and burning mechanisms and just gamified aspects that keep players engaged. So here's the basics of the gameplay. All players can train and race their horses inside Derby Stars, acquire new horses by breeding them. The Derby Stars training program is completely different from other blockchain horse racing games, and you can experience all competitions from local class to world class within a set scenario for a virtual time of about 3 years. Players can get native tokens and food through the results of training, and food can be fed back when they want to bring out a special ability of the horse in training and racing. And then here are the 2 tokens that are going to be used in game. As we mentioned previously, there's Run, which is the governance token obtained through PvP races and used in breeding and crafting. The CRT, which is going to be the utility token, much like VIS and Pegaxi, obtained through PvP or PvE race tournaments and used in breeding, crafting, and food synthesis. So let's get to the training, because this is the first major difference from all the other horse racing games out there, and this is a really cool element and part of this game. All right, so here is the training program for Derby Stars. The player progresses through the program of a hypothetical period of 3 years according to the flow of a set scenario. So this is like in-game time. The first course of the program always starts with a tutorial, and this course can be skipped after the first play. Before training, players set goals for which competitions they will be participating in. So you can see they have the local class, national class, and world class, and different, I guess, tracks and different sort of things that they have to accomplish here. So we've got, you know, the main goal is to place top 3 in this race, use a skill 3 times, place first while driving, and overtake a horse 1 time. Okay, so there's different sort of main goals and then sub goals that will, I guess, reward you additional experience and tokens for successfully completing those. Basically, after you choose the goal that you want to go for here, the horse is given a training period for training. Now, the training period is always fixed to 3 years, but if you're going for something that's a bigger competition, it's going to be harder to complete, and it's going to give you greater rewards as well. Okay, instead it says start training by selecting among the horse's 5 major stats, which you have here are speed, power, stamina, intellect, and grit. And I just wanted to say, like, just the look of this already from the start, like, this looks awesome. This looks so much more of being in an actual game than all the other like horse racing games and stuff that we've seen so far. Horse's condition deteriorates during training. You can see the condition right here. Training may not be recommended depending on the physical condition, so some rest may be needed. So this is kind of like your horse's energy and ability to continue training and racing and doing these things. The training that the horse likes and dislikes changes every time. So it looks like there's certain things that your horse will enjoy doing at certain times more than others, so that's a really cool concept as well. And then the amount of condition used during unwanted training increases. So if your horse isn't feeling like working its power or whatever, and like this one here, so you've got stamina and it says bad, so your horse is like, dude, I don't want to run for 100 miles right now, just like let me work on my grit. Okay, if you go for the stamina one, it's going to cost you more. It's going to use up more of your horse's condition to be able to do that, because you're kind of forcing it to do something it doesn't want to do. So that's actually really, really cool that they're working in like the horse's own like preferences for things, and they have that in like every aspect of this. When you go to race on a certain track, your horse has a preference of what type of track they like and dislike, and a lot of cool things like that. Okay, If this horse is not feeling well, it's recommended to rest rather than train. However, it is possible to ignore and proceed with the training, but it says there is a chance that you can get injured or gain a bigger training effect with a fighting spirit. So when a horse is injured, various debuffs are obtained depending on the type of injury. So if you push your horse, you could end up injuring your horse, which is going to negatively affect its performance in the races and stuff while it's injured. So that is a very, very cool feature that they've already put in. And then there's different levels of effects that you can get, or different results that you can get from these. So you've got great, success, or bad. Okay, so bad is just like you get a little bit of an increase from the training. Success is, you know, kind of moderate training effect, and then great is greatly increasing the you know, the effects of that training event, which is very cool. And then when training for items with a mini game icon, simple mini games appear from time to time, and clearing them greatly increases the effectiveness of the training. So that is the part that I think is amazing, working in these little mini games, you know, gamifying the whole experience in order to actually improve your results from that training. Okay, so it says there's going to be several mini games that are randomly selected. The types of mini games will, you know, always keep being added to and all that sort of stuff. And then we have here the PvE tournament race begins when all trainings during the set period have been completed. And then again, here is the user interface of this. So this is the local class one that was selected. You want to get top 3 in it. You want to try to use, you know, skills 3 times and get first 1 time throughout the race and overtake a horse 1 time. Okay, and then you can see here, again, you have the different track stats, the race information, the weather, their preference for the track. So this is the horse's preference. This is turf, and the horse is like, yeah, I dig that. You actually have the direction of the course, which way the horses are running. So I guess that will affect certain horses' performances. And then the time of day as well. So this is night, it's raining, and they're going left. So I don't know exactly how those are all going to work into things, but those are all going to be factors to consider. There's also the track grade here, which again was that like local, national, world. And then here you can also see there's 4 different talents you can select, which are basically like the horse's running styles, and they each have their own sort of effects that take place during the race depending on what you select. And then there's also a food selection, so you can actually use food to improve the effects that take place during the race. Okay, so if you have a skill that you know, boosts your horse for 3 seconds or something like that, one of the foods might increase that to like 4 seconds or 5 seconds or something, you know. So it's very cool that they've already thought of implementing these foods and items and, you know, additional burning mechanisms and elements of the game to again make it feel more like a game and to get people more involved in the ecosystem, as players must clear the main objective of the tournament race to continue training for the next season. If players don't finish it, the training ends and they receive a low grade as a result of that training. And then it says if players finish a sub-objective, they get additional bonus points. So every little additional sub-goal you can do, you're going to get some bonus points as well, which is great. Upon completion of the training, there will be a reward along with a score judgment here. So you can see this is what that looks like. You've got an S training score, and this was your total score here. You've got your race bonus, your win rate, your prize bonus, minigame bonus, and special bonus, as well as you know, the training and race scores as both parts of the training event. And then your rewards here. So you've got your tokens and 2 different types of food. Now, the highest grade is S rank, which is what is showing here. The lowest is F, and the higher grade that you get, the more utility tokens and better food you'll receive. A lot of this I already mentioned, but it says, you know, you're going to check the race course information before the tournament starts. It shows the overall look and length of the racetrack, the grade of the tournament, and whether the track is dirt or turf. Players can also check the game time, weather, and the direction of rotation of the track. So you can see this one is going left. It's a turf track. It's daytime. There's 30% snowfall right now, and it's 2,400 meters in a local race. Okay. And then it says you can also get basic info from the actual horses that are in the race as well. So you can check out, you know, the different horses, their preferences for their tracks, you know, the track floor, their ability by driving style, their skills, etc. And here's just a bigger look at what that is. So here's all the different things. It says the rival list, which is pretty cool. And you can see what their stats are, which is awesome. And then you can also inspect them further if you want to look at one specific horse, and it'll show you like everything, what their rarity level is, what talents they have and the grades that they have of those talents, their track preferences here, and then different skills that they have. There's a bunch of different skills that have different effects in the race, where it'll say, you know, this guy prefers good weather, which is going to help him with, you know, accelerating and that sort of thing. And here, right turn expert. Okay, so because this thing is going left and it's not really nice weather, there's snow, this guy probably won't do as well because of these. You know, he prefers good weather and he likes to make right turns instead of left. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot of different factors for each horse to consider, as well as the track. So that's where a lot of like strategizing and things like that will come into play, which is very, very much more in depth than any of the other horse racing games so far. After checking out the course and the information on the different horses, then it says players decide the driving style of their horse. And so this is the talents that we were talking about here. So there's these 4 different talents, or these 4 different driving styles for the horses: stretch runner, stalker, front runner, and runaway runner. After the selections are made, the race starts and players can check their ranking after the race ends. Tracks and stadiums. So this is wicked. These look dope. But it says, you know, Derby Star stadiums aren't just a straight track. It has all the elements of a real racetrack. There's various concepts that are being prepared, from general stadiums that exist in the real world all the way up to aerial stadiums that can only be seen in the fantasy world, which will be released one by one. So stay tuned for more updates. And here's an idea of one of these aerial tracks. Looks very, very cool, and very much like anime style fantasy sort of thing. Here is a glimpse of what the race will look like in the actual event itself. So it doesn't look like the races are going to be super long, which is kind of nice. You can see right here the timer's, you know, 1:27, and they're like almost on the last stretch of the race here, right? So they're about 3/4 through. And there's different elements on screen that you can see. They've actually got like commentary and broadcasters down here. And then it says, you know, broadcast on. So it sounds like they're gonna have like a voice kind of commentating the races, which I think will be very, very cool. And again, just kind of get people way more engaged in the actual game, and, you know, give them a real experience. That's what we want as gamers. We want to actually be able to play something and feel like we're, you know, more immersed in an actual game rather than just clicking buttons. So this is amazing to see. And then there's different skills and stuff here as well, which it goes over. So it says you can check out the ranking of your horse, where you are in the race. There's also, you can see when your skills are being used in real time and their cooldowns until, you know, they're able to be used again, which these are all just passive skills as well. You don't have to like activate these. It's just when certain conditions in the race are met, then they will be activated, and then there's a cooldown until they can have them activated again. Okay, and then it says if your horse is injured, you can see debuffs in the top left there. So these are the debuffs showing here. So you've got level 1 fatigue, level 1 arthritis. So that's kind of crazy. And then we have an AI relays the progress of the race in real time. So again, very, very cool. I don't know if this is just going to be text-based or if they're actually going to have a broadcaster speaking this stuff. That would be pretty cool, but it is cool that they've just added in, you know, even the text-based commentary there for those that want to kind of like, you know, be a little bit more involved in it and see what's going on. Breeding. So again, this is a fairly unique breeding mechanic in this game, and there's lots of similarities to other things, but also unique things involved in the mating of this, because the horses don't have genders in Derby Stars, okay? But there is a genetic component to breeding in terms of passing down skills and stats and that sort of thing, as well as genetics where basically offspring and parents cannot breed with one another, and siblings, I believe, can also not breed with one another. So that creates a whole new element of a breeding mechanic, very similar to Axie, right? Where there's sort of genetic based offspring and that sort of thing. So there's going to be a lot more to breeding itself rather than something like Pigaxie, where you just take a male and a female and you can breed them, whether they're offspring or parents or grandparents or whatever. Actually creates higher demand and utility for that stud service, essentially, where you can rent out your stallion horse to be bred with others. So that kind of creates more of a demand for that, especially because the win rates in the race history of your horse carries down through the offspring. So if you have kind of a meta horse in terms of the stats and things like that, it's going to have a higher demand in the breeding and mating. And so, you know, you might be able to monetize just through breeding, essentially, rather than doing the races, or, you know, even just, you know, renting out your winners, right? Like your top stallions for others to breed with. So there's lots of different elements that go into this and unique ways to, you know, both make money with this and different ways to just engage with the game. All horses in Derby Stars can give birth to multiple foals within a set number of matings. The horse owned by the player does not have a specific gender, okay? But if you breed as a mare, you will get a foal, and if you breed as a stallion, you will earn a fee. So we'll explain what that means as we go through this here. So the number of matings is 10 times, which is higher than I've seen in any other game. Usually they're capped at, like, you know, 5, 7, Cyball's only 3. So this means that each horse can breed a lot of offspring, okay? And then it says the number of mating counts only when mating is performed in the role of a horse that gives birth. So I believe it is just the mares that have this sort of max mating time, or it's only when, because they're not male and female, I guess technically any horse could be a stallion and a mare. So it's just whatever situation you place yourself in, whatever horse is bearing the offspring automatically becomes the mare, and that reduces their amount of mating times that they can have. Mating as a mare, there's basically 3 steps. You can select a horse to give birth to among the horses you own. You search for the stallion you want to breed with through the marketplace, and then you click breed. Okay, so pretty simple and straightforward. And this is basically how you would do it if you were breeding with a stallion on the marketplace. Okay, now if we go to mating as a stallion, when someone requests a breeding for their horse, the breeding takes place automatically. So this is if you have your horse basically up for breeding. Okay, so you're kind of like renting it out on the marketplace. You're kind of pimping it out essentially for others to breed with your horse. Okay, and so the one who applied for mating will automatically become the mare, and the one who received the request for mating will become the stallion. So again, that is how that works. Because there's no genders, any horse could be a stallion or a mare. It just depends which horse kind of decides to mate with the other, essentially. So then when a breeding application is received, a mating application fee is paid to the owner of the stallion horse, and then the mating application fee can be received in the detailed view of the horse. So again, you can see there's a breeding application fee, the breed count, and, you know, the horse itself here. So terms of impossible breeding. Okay, so this is where the genetics come in. So prohibition of inbreeding to prevent genetic diseases. So crossbreeding between parents and children is not possible, and if either mother or father overlaps, you can't crossbreed those either. Okay, so prohibiting for the role of a male horse or a mare horse here is when the number of mating counts reaches 10, right? So each mare can only give birth to 10 offspring. And then it says if 7 days have not elapsed since the birth of the foal, and if registered for sales on the marketplace. So you can't breed if your horse is listed up for sale, and you can't breed within 7 days of your last breeding as a mare. Okay, and then there's others here. So in the foal state, you can't breed. The foal will automatically grow into a horse after 72 hours. Genetic formula, again, it's just based on a complex, sophisticated algorithm here, but it says the rarity of the foal is related to the rarity of the parents. So higher rarity parents, it's a higher likelihood you're going to have a higher rarity foal as well, so offspring. The appearance of the foal is related to the appearance of the parent horses, except for unique horses because they have certain things that don't pass down, and then the color as well. So the just overall look and the color kind of comes from those parents, and then the foal's stats are related to the basic stats of the parent horses. And the skills possessed are also related to the skills possessed by the parent horse. The result of breeding, so this is kind of like the cooldown time and how the breeding actually works. And this is pretty unique. It's sort of similar to Cyball, but then it also has elements from like Pegaxi. It's kind of like a combination of all the different breeding mechanics I've seen before, all kind of put into one. And so even though each horse, each mare can breed, 10 offspring, they're spaced quite a bit apart here. Because parent horses can only breed once every 7 days, so once per week, which is a longer breeding period than any other game that I've personally been involved in yet. And then it also says, so when you breed, a soul is created by combining, both of the horses. And then it says after 5 days have elapsed, the soul turns into a foal, basically. Okay, and you have to click claim in order to hatch it into the foal. If you don't click claim, it just kind of sits there forever. Okay, and then once the foal is born from that soul, you have to wait another 3 days for from the time of birth for it to turn into an actual full-grown horse. Now, so that means if you're having a new offspring, okay, you have to wait 5 days for that soul to be able to turn into a foal, and then another 3 days in order to be able to like breed with that offspring again. Okay, so if you're trying to breed the parents and then breed with one of those offspring, you're gonna have to wait 8 days from the time that from the last like breeding, if you're trying to breed the offspring as well. Breeding costs, so it says the cost of breeding is the breeding fee as well as the mating application fee. So this is if you're mating with a horse from the market, like a stallion, right? And so the breeding fee is paid in CRT and run tokens. So the utility and governance token, it says run cost is determined by the sum of the rarities of the horses mating. So a common horse and a unique horse equals 3 run. This is just an example, but that is actually kind of interesting as well. So if the horses are higher rarity, it's going to cost more of the governance token to be able to mate those horses and to be able to breed with them. The mating application fee to be paid to the stallion is paid in CRT. The CRT cost increases according to the following conditions. So the number of times the stallion has received a mating request, the horse rarity of the stallion, the talent grade of the stallion's special skill tier, and the common skill tier of the stallion. So basically, the better the stallion horse is in terms of stats and skills and rarity and all of that, the more it's going to cost in CRT, and the more times it's been bred with, the more times it's going to cost in CRT, as well as run as well. So if a player breeds horses they own, the breeding fee is required, but there's no separate mating application fee. The formula for breeding is as follows. This is just kind of the math behind those things that we just read. The horses, there is a lot to the horses. These are the core NFTs that you're going to be starting with, and these are the things that are required to play the game. Now, in terms of the horses, it says theoretically there can be more than 10 billion unique horses, and the probability of having the same horse in all appearances, stats, skills, and talents is extremely slim, right? So you're not gonna likely run into 2 identical horses. There's going to be stats that are different. There's going to be looks that are different, different body parts, etc., etc. And then there's souls and foals as well. So it just says the soul is a special energy mass produced after horses are mated, and this is the stage before the foal is born. So these are also NFTs, and then the foals themselves, which are just baby horses, little ponies. A foal will be born after 120 hours in soul state. The foal will grow into an adult horse after 72 hours, as we talked about, and all in-game play is possible except for breeding in full status. So as soon as they're a pony, a baby horse here, they can race and they can train. They just won't be able to breed until they've grown into a full horse, which takes 3 days. All newly born horses have parents. However, any of the horses acquired in the pre-sales before the game launch, there's 3 pre-sales of 10,027 origin horses. They will be marked as origins. They do not have any parents. These are, the initial NFTs in the game. And it says various benefits will be provided to origin horses and its owners. So if you get in on one of these pre-sales before the game launch and you avoid buying off of the second market after all the breeding and stuff starts taking place, you're going to get some additional benefits from that, as well as, you're going to be getting in essentially at the ground floor. Like, this is the price everyone has had to pay for these horses during these pre-sales. So, you're getting in at the perfect time, right? The most ideal time to have the highest opportunity for reward. Again, as always, this is not financial advice. Do not, put in more money than you can afford to lose. It's never a guarantee that these things are going to appreciate in value. There is, a strong likelihood being an origin as long as the game is successful in its launch and everything like that. But, you got to do your own research and make your own financial decisions. All right. So even after the game launch, origin horses with new looks will be provided, but the quantity and frequency of sales will be much lower than pre-launch. So it seems like they'll do some events and things to, have different sales here and there for more origin horses in the future, but it doesn't really give much more info about that. There's 3 different rarities here. There's unique, rare, and common. So every horse in Derby Stars has its own unique look, which is composed of 8 body parts, and each body part rarity is divided into 3 separate things. So unique, rare, and common. So a unique horse is a horse that is composed of all parts of the body that are unique grade. Okay, unique parts cannot be given to horses of rare or common grades. Rare horses says 1 to 8 of the body parts are rare parts, and then common horses is just all 8 of the body parts are just common rarity. Okay, and then it says the horse's rarity does not guarantee the horse's ability and talent, but in the skill competition based on the principle of completely random distribution. So the horses of higher rarity can be guaranteed some level of minimum efficiency. So it's not so much like pay to win that, unique horses or rare horses will always beat out a common horse. It's just that they basically have like a higher sort of base level. Okay, so there's always, a common horse can have better stats and skills and things like that and be able to beat a rare horse or a unique horse. But it's less likely that a unique horse will have, lower sort of like base things than like a common horse, for example. So if that makes sense. So it's kind of like the floor on these is raised a little bit, but the ceiling is kind of the same for all the horses, right? I think that's the best way to describe it. Rare horses says 1 to 8 of the body parts are rare parts, and then common horses is just all 8 of the body parts are just common rarity. Okay, and then it says the horse's rarity does not guarantee the horse's ability and talent, but in the skill competition based on the principle of completely random distribution. So the horses of higher rarity can be guaranteed some level of minimum efficiency. So it's not so much like pay to win that, unique horses or rare horses will always beat out a common horse. It's just that they basically have like a higher sort of base level. Okay, so there's always, a common horse can have better stats and skills and things like that and be able to beat a rare horse or a unique horse. But it's less likely that a unique horse will have, lower sort of like base things than like a common horse, for example. So if that makes sense. So it's kind of like the floor on these is raised a little bit, but the ceiling is kind of the same for all the horses, right? I think that's the best way to describe it. Then there are the stats. This says status, but these are the stats. So there's 5 main stats that each of the horse has. There's speed, which is the max velocity, power, which is acceleration, and it says penalty reduced for running corners. Stamina is the amount of time that your horse can run at maximum speed. Grit is for deceleration and improving dirt, turf, and weather adaptability. So this is obviously, that makes sense, right? Your horse is able to adapt to different types of climate and tracks and stuff when they have more grit. They're more tenacious. And penalty reduced when surrounded by many horses. So I guess these are like different debuff protections, essentially. And then intellect is the probability of your skills being activated and their frequency of use. Okay, so, and then it says horse's sight and debuff avoidance. So intellect will play a big role in how often your horse actually is able to use its skills to be able to benefit in these races. So you could have like all the best skills and stuff, but if they're never being activated during the races, if your intellect's too low, then it's really not going to matter, right? Like if the skill doesn't get used, then it doesn't matter if it's the best skill in the game, you know? So when a horse is created, the total number of stats awarded is 250, and the maximum number that a single stat can have is 100, which is the same for all horses. Each time a horse eats food, an experience is gained, and as the experience accumulates, the level rises. When a horse levels up, it gains 1 additional stat point, and players can pick a desired stat among the horse's 5 major stats. So this is very much like Cybo. Every time you level up, you get a stat point. You can apply it to whatever stat you want to help build up your horse and either balance things out or to, you know, double down on certain things. If you're really strong in like speed and power and you just want to max those out to 100, you can do that. If you know, you've got really good skills but maybe they're not being activated enough, you can work on building up the intellect to make sure that your skills are being used more. Or, you know, maybe you're suffering in tracks that have, you know, bad weather or different turf conditions or whatever track conditions. You can buff up the grit and maybe that'll help improve your win rates, that sort of thing. So very cool that you have that sort of personal control over your horse's stats, and that can kind of affect the performance over the long run. So it says currently the max level of a horse is 50, which would bring your total stats to 300, but we are considering to increase this in the future, but that would only be increased to a max of level 100 and a maximum of 350 points. And again, you can only spread those across those 5 things, and you can only have a max of 100 in any given skill or any given stat. Okay, and then the next thing here is the talent. So this is what we talked about in the gameplay portion here in the races. You could see this, the different talents that you can select: stretch runner, stalker, front runner, runaway runner. This is how those work. Okay, so runaway runner is a running style that aims to maintain the forefront until the finish line. So this is like if your horse, I think if you have like a very fast horse or whatever, runaway runner is just like get in the lead and try to stay in the lead the whole race, right? Front runner says it runs behind the runaway runner here, and then it aims to win by increasing its speed from the middle of the race. So when you're about halfway through, the front runner starts to, you know, pick things up and try to overtake the runaway runner, because again, there's only like so much stamina that these guys are going to be able to, you know, stay in front with, right? And then there's the stalker. Okay, a running style that is positioned behind the front runner until the middle of the race, and then it starts accelerating from the final corner, the last straight track to outpace the horse in front. And then the stretch runner, which is basically kind of at the back, it just kind of hangs back and chills until the middle of the race, and then it starts again to accelerate towards the end of the race and just like tries to outpace all the horses at the end to kind of force that win right at the end. And then again, there's track preferences. Basically, your horse is going to have a preference for turf or dirt, and there's 3 different levels of this. There's either it likes it, it's normal, so it's kind of indifferent, or it dislikes it, right? So I have one horse, I believe, that, you know, likes turf but dislikes dirt, right? And you could have one that's like normal for both, but there's never going to be one that dislikes both turf and dirt. So you're not going to be penalized on like both track conditions, but you could have one or the other, you know, like or dislike or whatever. And then in addition to all these, okay, so we have the rarity of the horses. We have their stats that you can level up. There's the talents that you select based on, you know, your strategy during the race. There's the track preference that your horse will have. Then there are skills. See, you know, what some of these are like. So it says outcourse master. So speed and acceleration increase greatly when running as the first and running far from the fence during the final spurt. So this would be something where you'd be looking at the track and be like, okay, where is the fence? Where's the final thing? And then how is my horse's that first talent, the runaway runner, because that keeps them in front, right? How is my horse's runaway runner? Because each of these have a rating as well, right? And so if you've got a horse like that's really good speed and has like a high level of the runaway runner thing, and the track is in favor of this, you know, then there's a likelihood that this is going to be activated, and that's going to help to boost your speed and acceleration during the thing. And then there's different common skills as well. So it says common skills are activated in all areas except for the last spurt of the race, and then the special skills are only activated in that last spurt. Okay, and all skills are automatically activated without separate, you know, procedure. So you don't control them, you don't have to activate them and that sort of thing. But it says a skill does not have a 100% chance of activating, even if all the conditions are met, and the intellect affects the probability that these skills are triggered during the race. And the effects of skills cannot be enhanced or changed through training. So what you get from breeding or minting the horses in the pre-sales is kind of what you get for the skills. Body parts. So the horse consists of 8 body parts total, or it can consist of 8. There's 6 parts that are the same for all horses, while the remaining 2 parts are special parts that are granted only to unique and rare horses, which are the horn and the wings. Okay, so all the common ones are like the muzzle, the body, the mane, the legs, the tail, the torso, all of that. And then there's the horn and the wings that are only for unique and rare horses. So if you see a horse with wings or a horse with a horn, you know that it's a higher rarity than a common. And then it says each body part also has 3 grades, unique, rare, or common. The higher the grade, the more gorgeous and stylish it looks. And in the case of the horse's wings, this is kind of cool. It's just more of like a cosmetic thing during the race, but it says players can see the wings flapping when a special skill is activated in game. So if you're in race and your outcourse master thing here gets activated and your horse has wings, you're going to see those horses' wings like start flapping and, you know, have some sort of animated effect during the race. And then here it says like the body parts of the horses, just like talents, track preference, and skills are inherited at birth, but they can't be changed. Okay, so they're kind of passed down through the offspring through the genetic formula, but unique body parts can't be passed down. So if you have a unique horse, I believe like you're only going to be able to have a unique origin horse. You're not going to be able to breed rare or common horses with unique body parts. The souls, so if you play Cyball or you're familiar with it, these are very, very much like very similar to the Cypods. So these things are going to take 5 days to be able to hatch. That's the exact same as the Cypods in Cyball. And then here the appearance of soul is divided into a dozen types, and it says the appearance of the soul is determined by the total number of rare body parts each parent has. So it says it's impossible to know which type of foal will be born within the soul, but you can guess by looking at the soul's appearance. The higher the sum of rare body parts from both parents, the higher the chance of a high rarity foal that's going to be born. So it's very similar to Cyball, where, you know, you can have bronze Cypods or silver Cypods or gold Cypods or whatever, and it's not guaranteed that it's going to be a gold offspring from those or a silver offspring from those, but there's a higher % chance that it will be a higher rarity. Okay, so it's the same sort of thing with this. The more rare body parts from the parents that go into the mating, the different appearance for the soul, and the more likelihood that they're going to be a higher rarity offspring from that. And then it says soul NFTs aren't yet movable creatures, so even if you own them, you won't be able to participate in Derby Star's training programs or race them. So, you know, that makes sense. The souls are just kind of sitting there until they hatch. But they are NFTs, so they can be traded on the marketplace. The foals, so these are the baby horses. So again, they're hatched from the souls after 5 days of spawning. Foal is still a young horse, but it can participate in all the contents of Derby Stars except for breeding. After 72 hours, the foal automatically changes its appearance to a fully grown horse. and from that point forward, it's possible to breed. So that's actually really cool. They actually implemented like a cosmetic feature with these things growing into adult horses as well. It's not just like, you know, it's not just like they're 3 days pass and they're just like, okay, now they're an adult, and they just labeled them as an adult. They actually like grow. So it says a foal's grown up look is difficult to see until after 72 hours. So it changes naturally over time and transforms into the full-grown adult horse. And it says this is similar to how young dogs and cats change their coat color and pattern and appearance as they grow up. So very, very cool that they, you know, thought of that much detail and implemented that into this. So it says newborn foal can identify their parents in the detailed information section, and you can trace the parents. You can trace their parents and parents of parents, and you can kind of like see the genetic line of each of those horses. There is going to be NFT jockeys as well. It says these are going to be composed of hair, face, eyes, upper body, lower body, shoes. It says unlike horses, jockeys' body parts is under development, so players can change it at any time. So you're going to be able to like customize the look of your avatars and stuff in game. And I think that's just a cool gamification feature. You actually have like a character in the game that you can customize and kind of make your own. Now these skills, this is a more in-depth breakdown of like the common skills and the special skills. Basically, the most important thing here is for common skills, the grades are divided from tier 1 to tier 10, and for the special skills, they're divided from tier 1 to tier 5. Okay, so that's kind of how they are rated. I believe there's also, I think it said there's 500 different skills in Derby Stars. So there's so many different skills. So you're really just going to have to kind of look at what skills you end up with your horses, or, you know, what skills different horses have that you're racing against, to try to see, you know, what skills are beneficial and not, essentially. And they're kind of broken down into these different types of effects that the skills have. Okay, so there's a self-condition buff, which obviously just applies a buff to yourself, and then it gives you an example. Speed and acceleration increases greatly when overtaking or running more than 1,000 meters, or sorry, after running more than 1,000 meters. So if you're like halfway through the race, your speed and acceleration can increase quite a bit. There's a competitor condition buff, so a skill that's activated when the actions or situations of other horses around you help to boost your horse. There's an arena condition buff, so again, this is like if the weather and the track conditions are in favor with your horse, then you'll get a certain buff from the arena itself. There's HP recovery, all skills related to HP recovery. HP cost decrease slightly on the corner during the early phase of the race. So this is where your horse can gain a little bit more stamina to be able to run at top speed for longer. And then there's debuffs as well. So this is any skill that lowers the stat or worsens the situation of a horse. So you can actually apply debuffs to other horses by like running around them or being in front or behind them or whatever. So very cool. There's all different types of skills and sort of different elements to them. And then there's the special skills as well. So it says unlike common, which are divided into 5 types, special skills are designed to have a big impact on speed and acceleration. Okay, the reason for the existence of the special skill is to aim for a comeback with strong power in the last section of the race. So you could see things kind of like, you know, be duking it out throughout the whole race, and then that last little bit, your special skill could get activated and you just blast through to the finish line and overtake a lot of horses that were in front of you. And there's items, there's going to be different like cosmetic items here. There's going to be clothes and accessories for the jockeys. There's going to be items for the horses and foods. And it says the jockey customization system is still under development. So, you know, they're going to be adding to that. There's also going to be a crafting system in the future as well. It says an example, the duration of skills related to speed increase is increased by 25%. So if you have something that boosts your speed in the race, this is going to make them last 25% longer. You've got training food, which is the grain type. Okay, so that is like that the picture that we saw earlier. There was like a cherry and like a wheat thing. So this food can be eaten before participating in a training program. Players will be able to receive various benefits during the training. During training, the chance of event dialogue occurs increases by 14%. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it basically just improves your performance or the outcome of your training. And then there's going to be other food where you're going to be able to reset all of your stats and be able to redistribute them. So that is very, very cool as well. Just like everything else in this game, it's not enough to just have various types of food. There's also 6 different levels of the food, or 6 different tiers, all the way from S+ down to D. So obviously the higher level of food that you have, the better overall effects it will have. And I guess the more valuable it would be as well. And then it says, we are also considering supporting a system that collects unused low-grade foods and changes it to higher grade foods. So that would be the food synthesis program we talked about. Hey, Geeth, appreciate that sub. Let's go. Things there. There's also going to be their own marketplace for horses, souls, and foals. In the future, they're also going to have jockeys, land, and various other NFTs to be added to the marketplace. So again, that is very cool. And they already have all these different filters. So this looks overwhelming just looking at it right up front here, but this is very, very cool that you can sort like this much in detail. You can go by the rarity of the horse, the price, their preferences on a track, their preferences of turf here, what type they are, if they're an origin or an offspring, the different skills that they have, the levels of the skills they have, the number of stats that they have. So there's so many different things that you can sort these for. So if you happen to come across or develop some sort of like meta build for your horses that's working really well for you, you could potentially search on the market for additional horses that kind of plug into your meta and be able to sort of optimize your teams or your stables to be able to increase your earnings potential and how well your horses perform in the game as a whole. Obviously, you can buy and sell things. There's both a fixed price sale as well as an auction sale. The auction, you basically can start the price and set like a target goal for it, and people will start bidding, and the highest bidder wins that. If no one bids on it, it just gets returned to you. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you list a horse up for auction and there's no bids placed on it, you can also recall the thing. There's no like cancellation fee or whatever. And it says they still haven't worked out how much their fees are going to be in the marketplace, but they want to make them very reasonable. This is the tokenomics. This is a visual breakdown representation of kind of the whole Derby Star system here. There's going to be, we kind of went over this whole section here, but then they've added in, the CRT burning from all 3 of these events. So breeding, crafting, and food synthesis is all the CRT is going to be burned from that. And then the governance tokens from breeding and item crafting is going to go to both the pool for the DAO as well as the rewards pool to be paid out in different events and tournaments. So it says players can earn run by participating in PvP race tournaments using their horses, or earn CRT by participating in training programs. The run tokens earned by players are used for contents such as breeding and crafting, and all the run tokens consumed in the game are accumulated into the DAO and rewards pool. The run tokens accumulated in the rewards pool will be returned as a reward to Derby Star's players through various game systems and events. CRT token, being the utility token, is used in multiple things in the game, and then it's burned whenever it is used for like breeding or crafting or whatever. And the player will also be able to use these run and CRT to acquire new horses and items through breeding and crafting. And then finally, Derby Stars has a horse release system that allows you to burn the horse and get other goods instead. If the players burn their horses, they can obtain high quality goods that can be used in PvP races and training, along with a chance to acquire unique or high rare horses. The Derby team aims to control inflation and to maintain the value of horses through such mechanics. And then the horse release system and crafting are currently under development, so they're going to update more on that. But it's awesome that they already have the plans in place and some ideas of how these things are going to work. You're going to be able to burn your horses to get a ticket to be able to craft like unique items and have a higher chance of getting, you know, higher rarity horses and things like that. So a lot of cool things to help control the population, to help control the inflation of the earnings token CRT, and to be able to kind of top up the rewards pool and offer additional incentives for events in the game. Right? So if you have the DAO and the rewards that are constantly being topped up with these run tokens, then you run like some guild tournaments, like an esports style thing, then you can kind of reward run tokens for those. It's just a breakdown of the two main tokens, the governance token Run and the the utility token CRT token. And the Run token, there's a 500 million supply, maximum supply that's fixed, and then the CRT tokens are just unlimited, just like VIS. And the allocations and unlock schedule, so this is actually pretty nice to see, you know, things like the private sales here. It's released every 6 months for 3 years, so people are kind of invested into this for quite a long time. You've got different gaming partners released every 6 months for 3 years. Staking, so funds to reward those who have put stakes in the project long term, released every week for 5 years. 85 million to the ecosystem to grow the ecosystem, community, marketing budget, etc. Again, released every week for 5 years. So all of these things are 3 to 5 years for the unlocks for these. So very nice to see the long-term perspective of this, and clearly belief in this project for the next 3 to 5 years, which is amazing. All right, and then the rest of this game issuance, ecosystem growth, it just kind of breaks down what we just went over in the unlock schedule and the allocations. It just kind of shows you a little bit more detail of what these allocations are going towards, what these things mean. So it's actually really, really nice to see this much detailed information of exactly like where those funds are going and when, because I haven't really seen that in any other game. Typically there's some sort of breakdown like this of the allocation and unlock schedule, but this is usually where they kind of end. So this team has gone, you know, above and beyond, telling you exactly, you know, where these tokens are going, you know, what they're planned to be used for, etc., etc. So really, really great stuff. Alrighty, so now it is time to do the whitelist giveaway. Here is how to enter. You got to do a few steps here, but it's real easy. I'm gonna bring this up to walk you through it. Okay, so you gotta like this video, you gotta make sure you're subscribed, and you got those noties on. Next thing, drop a comment with your favorite thing about Derby Stars. Okay, then give us both a follow on Twitter. Again, this is all gonna be linked down in the description, but drop a follow on my page here, theAPEcoach, as well as Derby Stars. Once you've followed on Twitter, make sure to join both of our Discords, again, linked down below. You can come over here, you know, join the Derby Stars, join Six Pack Gaming. And last but not least here, very important, the last thing, you have to submit your YouTube username and your Terra Station wallet address in the Six Pack Gaming Discord. Terra Station is this little guy right up here. It's just a Chrome extension. You can also get a desktop app. This is the wallet that the Terra network, the Luna network, uses. Okay, so you got to get that, and you're going to want to share your YouTube username and your Terra Station wallet in Six Pack Gaming. So you're going to join the server here, come on down to YouTube giveaways, click on that and enter your YouTube username and your Terra Station wallet. That way we are going to be able to confirm you are who you say you are, and we will be able to add your wallet to the whitelist. All right. And I think to switch things up a little bit, there's going to be a post on my Twitter as well. So we're going to give away 3 of the whitelist spots on the YouTube video right here. And then 2 of the spots are going to come from comments on the Twitter post for this video as well. Okay, so you got 2 different chances to interact with it and to be able to win a whitelist spot for the upcoming NFT presale. This is the last presale for the Derby Stars horses. So if you're wanting to get in on this game, this is, the best time to do it. So that is Derby Stars. Let me know your comments down below. Are you guys excited for this one? I am super excited with all the different mechanics that are going into this, the artwork, all the, you know, attention to detail that they're doing. The horse looks, you know, are dope as well. So super pumped about this coming up. But let me know your thoughts. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe and got notifications turned on. Don't miss out on your chance at getting on the whitelist. And, you know, until next time, as always, train hard, game hard, keep making those life-changing gains, and we will see you in the next one. Peace out, everyone.